Alright guys, welcome back to another tabs video. In today's video I'm going to be looking through the Stone Age faction to see which unit is the best amongst that faction. The criteria I'll be basing my decisions on are the best stats of the unit as well as how many situations that unit is useful in. Now remember, I'll only be looking at the Stone Age unit, and I'm aware that a unit being the best in the faction doesn't really mean a whole lot in a game like tabs. What unit is best is purely situational, for the most part. Landfall has done a really good job with balancing the strategy of tabs. This is why part of the criteria is how many situations a unit is good for. This does mean the outcome is completely superfluous and this video is purely for fun, but with all that being said, shall we? We'll start with crossing off the units that have no business contesting the number 1 spot. The Clubber. This one is fairly obvious. Peasant units are useful in high numbers against a lower number of enemies, as well as fodder to distract ranged units. The Clubber is as basic as it gets when it comes to peasant units, and as such has limited use. And when compared to the other units in this faction, it's useful in a lot less situations. Next one to cross off is the Mammoth, and no, that's not a joke. The Mammoth isn't a great unit. The way it attacks isn't great. It deals damage in a way that leaves it exposed, taking a few seconds to process what it's done and taking so damn long to turn. The Mammoth takes so long to actually kill a unit and it dies way too easily, which is why it isn't really all that useful for most situations and you're better off using those points for something better. Next one to cross off is the Spear Thrower. This isn't a bad unit per se, you can still get by using this fella as your ranged unit of choice. It has a decent reload and a cheaper cost. However, this is a simple case of the Stoner is better and much more useful. For example, the Stoner uses a much less standard type of projectile, one that is capable of damaging shielded units. Most other projectiles would get blocked by these shields, dealing little to no damage to the targeted unit. The stone thrown by the Stoner is much larger, meaning it's harder for the shielded unit to block it, and most of the time the stone will just crush the enemy unit, making the shield completely redundant, with the exception of the shield bearer. So the Spear Thrower is being crossed off for being just your average ranged unit, and in the Stone Age faction there's some steep competition. Last one to cross off is the Protector. Again, a solid unit. Being effectively a clubber but with a shield does give this unit some merit, being able to more efficiently fill the role of a peasant unit, by being able to block most projectiles and still being fairly cheap. This definitely makes it more useful in a higher number of situations than the clubber. Its role as a shield unit, however, is fulfilled okay, and plus for 10 points more you can get the shield bearer. Not only is he not great at being a shielded unit, but he's also pretty pointless to use this way, being as though there's a much better unit for only 10 points more, unfortunately making the Protector a glorified clubber. Now we're left with 3. The Stoner, the Bone Mage, and the Chieftain. I've already touched on the Stoner, so we'll start there. Most of what makes this Stoner useful, like mentioned earlier, is its weapon of choice, heavy rocks, making this fella good against units that use shields. The damage is also pretty good, and being a larger projectile with more weight behind it means it has the potential to damage multiple units at once. But if all this sounds familiar, that's because the Bone Mage is capable of doing the exact same thing, and in some cases, like attacking shielded units, it does it even better. One area the Stoner is better in is the fact that it takes a back seat and attacks from afar, keeping it out of harm's way, making it more likely it'll have another go. The Bone Mage, in contrast, is right up front, taking it all in, and most of the time it'll only get one attack off. In saying that though, the Bone Mage only really needs to get the one attack off to be useful. It's powerful and creates a large shockwave that breaks apart unit formations, making it way easier for other units to come in and clean up. When played right, the Bone Mage is dangerous, but it's definitely more of a support or supplementary unit than anything else. Lastly, there's the Chieftain, being a competent but not too awful crazy soldier type unit that shouldn't be the centerpiece of an army, but where there's a gap, you can fit one of these fellas in. Which does mean this unit is very versatile, lending this guy a lot of usefulness points. So who do I think is better? It's the Chieftain. It's a solid, versatile, and all-around great unit. It's useful in a ton of situations, and when placed, it will not disappoint. Although having a seemingly minor role, the Chieftain is a sturdy base for any army to be built upon. The Bone Mage would be a close second simply due to how good its ability is, but it's pretty situational when compared to the Chieftain. That can be used in so many situations. Alright, thank you so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave it a like and perhaps consider subscribing to get more content just like this. And let me know what unit you think is the best in the Stone Age faction in the comments. And with all that being said, I will see you in the next one.